Hi. So this vlog is a little bit different. I got a message today from someone, and they have a loved one in their life who is drinking and has drank for a long, long time, their entire life. And it's always so painful. And I talk a lot about how you need to take care of yourself, right? This disease is deadly. And once you realize the person is really sick, a lot of the anger goes away, not the hurt, but the anger for the person. So I always say that the chances are better is if you back up and you take care of yourself and then you allow that person consequences. So this is the part I want to talk about that is not often talked about. Okay, you hear a lot of people talk about recovery and a lot of people talk about treatment and things, but there are some people that cannot or will not get this simple program. That's a line from the book. And it is true. And I've had friends and family that I've lost to this disease. So I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. So let's say that you've held a strong line of boundaries with someone in your life for a long time and you've done very well. And recently they've crossed a boundary, right? Because they can't understand. They don't get it. See, they're sick. They suffer from an abnormal state of mind and body. So it's not, it's not their fault. I'm not excusing anyone, but they're very sick, okay? And this disease will tear you apart physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. It's a destroyer of everything good. So let's say you have someone like that in your life, but you think this is coming to an end, like it's getting much worse and you're not sure they're going to make it. It seems apparent they're not going to live longer, much longer. And I know to a lot of you, it might seem like if you haven't dealt with this disease, well, rush them to the hospital, call 911, get them to a mental health institution. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with that. I have. And it's impossible to get someone help that doesn't want help. They're not going to force anybody to get help. If you don't want help, they're going to let you go. At the hospital, they're going to let you go home. At the mental health place, they'll keep you maybe for a 5150. If you can get someone 5150 for their own protection, which is very hard. Police and hospitals don't want to just 5150 people. They don't want to. And it's very hard to do that. So it seems like you could really intervene, but you can't. When someone is drinking and using and they don't want help, there's really nothing you can do except love them. So just like all the other times I've talked to you and said that there's nothing you can do about someone else, but you have to take care of yourself. This is the same thing, okay? So what I have learned from my experience is, first thing, you want to make sure you tried everything, okay? As a parent, as a loved one, as a spouse, you want to make sure you've exhausted all the avenues. You don't want something to happen to them and then come back and say, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. And there are so many people that have suggestions and advice. You know what you should do. And they have no idea, right? It's so easy to tell people what they should do when you're not in that position. It's just so easy to go, if it was my kid, right? If it was my situation, well, it's not. And it's really hard. So you have to be okay. Right? And if you're married, if you're a couple, what's okay with your spouse might be different for you, but you have to be okay. And I would say that to your spouse. You have to be okay. If you have siblings involved, they have to be okay. It might not be as much for them to be okay as you, or it might be much more. That's not right and wrong. Okay? That's what is best for you. This particular person that sent me the message, I know they have exhausted all avenues. So that's the first thing. You want to make sure you've tried everything. I mean, even parents who contact me and say, you know, what should I do about my child? We've done everything but this. And I'll say, well, do you need to do that before, you know, you can move on? Because I don't want you to go back and think, oh my God, if we would have done that, right? And that's everybody's decision. So first thing, make sure you've done everything you need to do. And then you have to come to some acceptance that this isn't going to end the way you wanted it to. And then I think the most humane thing you can do is love someone. Now, saying that is one thing. But when you make a decision that this person is doing the best they can, right? It's a shame they couldn't get the program of recovery. It's a shame they didn't go to treatment. It's a shame they did go to treatment 17 times, you know, whatever the story is. But they've made their decision, right? I'm powerless over this. I have tried everything. And I've accepted that this is probably not going to end the way I think it, you know, should. And I'm going to tell them I love them. And I'm going to tell them mostly just I love them, right? I love you regardless of what's going to happen here. I mean, don't say that part, but just I think love and tolerance is the best thing you can do. And buckle up. But I think you'll regret it if you let this person go in anger. I think you'll regret it if you don't come to grips with the fact this is a disease. Just like people that, you know, in this pandemic that got COVID and some people lost their lives, right? Not everybody. Some people succumbed to the disease. The disease was too much for them. And that's the same thing here. And if you had an opportunity to say, you know, make their final days at least. And I'm not saying bring them in your home, and I'm saying to say what you need to say and end with a clean heart, right? Even if they're so drunk or loaded, they don't know what you're saying. Tell them you love them. Tell them, you know, unless you don't, right? If you don't love them, maybe you could tell them you forgive them for having the disease of alcoholism and addiction. Maybe that's what you're going to say. I forgive you. I let you go. I love you. Whatever you want to say, but you make sure you're good with it. Okay? Usually when people get feelings like this, that someone's not going to make it, they're usually right. And, but I think that holding a hard line, you know, no, you can't come over. No, you can't call me when you're drunk. I think somehow, once you know in your heart of hearts that this isn't going to end well, you need to drop that shit. You know, if you love me, you get sober. We all know that's not true. Love has nothing to do with this. Nothing. I love the people in my family more than anything else, and yet they are the ones that I abandoned. They are the ones that I disappeared on. And, you know, love has nothing to do with this. This is an illness, a mental illness. And if that person in your life could have done better, I'm sure they would have. But maybe just I love you. You know, maybe just I love you. Maybe when they call and they're drunk and you've made a hard line that you're not to call here drunk, maybe if you got that feeling, you take the call and you just say, I love you. I love you, Mom. But I'm going to let you go. I'll talk to you later. Be careful, be well, whatever. I love you, Mom, but I can't talk right now. First thing, you're going to feel better that the last thing you said to her was you loved her. And the next thing is she's not going to remember that you didn't speak to her, you know. So, again, I want you to take care of yourself in this one. The alcoholic is drunk. They don't really know. They're anesthetized. You know what I mean? They're in pain, but they're in pain in their own mind, right? But you got to be okay. So you don't want your last thing to be you pounding down the rules of boundaries and, you know, what you expect. And, you know, at that point, I only say this, I live this in my own life. I have situations like this myself. One in particular is a friend of mine, not the most emotional one of mine, but I remember it clearly. I was talking to him on the phone and he was asking me for help again. And I said, okay. I said, but you're going to need to go to meetings and you're going to need to do the steps. You know, we're going to need to get you into a detox. Very sick. Wealthy guy, right? Really too smart for his own good. Really. And he said to me, he said, I'll do the steps, but I'll do 1, 2, 3, but I'm not doing 4. I'm not doing 8. You know what I mean? He's picking and choosing. And I was like, oh God, this is never going to work, right? And then he said a couple things to me. I don't even know what it was that he said, but I know in that instant, I had a feeling he's not going to make it. There's nothing I can say. And I knew in that moment I had to make a decision that I have a friend who is going to die of alcoholism. You know, no more begging, no more pleading, no more this, no more that. Just, okay, you know, okay, God, I got the message. And I told him I loved him. I said, you know what? I love you either way, whatever you want to do. And I could see clearly he couldn't get sober. He didn't want to get sober. He wanted to drink. He wanted to blame others. And he wanted to believe that his money was going to save him, I think, in the long run. And you know, in and out of treatment centers and sober livings. And he just didn't want to do that anymore. He was older now and was sick of the kids in sober living and just kind of gave up. And so I just told him, I said, you know what, whatever you decide, I love you. Let me know what I can do to help. And he said, well, you know, you're not going to be mad at me? And no, I'm not going to be mad at you. I completely understand. You know, I completely understand. And people deserve to live the life that they want to live. That's just, you know, it's none of my business. So I did say that, and I told him I loved him very much. And I kind of detached from that, gotta help, oh my God, he's gonna die. And he did die. Very shortly after that, they found him. He was watching in the recliner. No, he was in his bed. It was another friend of mine who was in his recliner. He was in his bed watching the Wall Street Journal thing, you know, stock market things going across, bottles of booze everywhere, drank himself to death. And I felt okay. I had tried everything, and I got to tell him how much I loved him. I wasn't mad at him. And so I was very sad. It was a big loss. But you know what? I didn't have that guilt and remorse. Now, he was not a relative. So if this is a relative, you can imagine how much worse it would be to think that you let someone go with a resentment, you know? So you've got to decide if God gives you, or the universe, whatever you believe in, gives you that inner thing, that thing that goes, they're not going to make it, you know? You might want to change a little bit of your boundaries to just being more loving and tolerant, as far as not letting them in your house or letting them absorb your time or giving them money, not that kind of enabling, but the I love you, you know, or I forgive you, or I'm letting you go. But you got to do what's right for you. We all have to do that. And then you have to let your siblings or your loved ones all handle it the way they want to handle it, because everyone's different. So that's my advice to this particular person. And, you know, what if I'm wrong and they miraculously get sober and well? Well, then there's no harm in what you've done anyway, right? You didn't let down the wrong boundaries. You just made things okay for yourself. So I'm sorry, it's a difficult subject to talk about. It's one that I've had to learn. Someone told me this. I have to do it every day with certain things in my life that are, just unable to fix. There are some situations in life that are just not fixable. We're powerless over them. So I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with whatever happens. I love you all. Thanks for listening to me. I'm sorry this was so long. Have a great night.